because you don't always want to trust the credit card company.
We are here with Owen. He was one of our interns this summer for the Yukon project. And one of the projects that we had him working on was to research credit cards. And he looked at a lot of different credit cards and looked at the fine print and the details and a lot of the stuff that's one layer or two layers or three layers deeper than just the marketing language that credit cards use. And so what I wanted to do today was talk to Owen and ask him what was his conception of credit cards before this project. And how did that change?
One of the biggest ones was that there was no benefit to having a credit card unless you were well established financially. And so it wasn't something I had considered doing until after college when I had had at least my first job. And I think a second one, that credit was the most expensive way to buy something. I think that was just a perception I had been given. And, there's just a lot of concern around credit cards. People, they don't have the best reputation, especially if you don't use them right. And I think the last one I had is that there's really no benefit in using a credit card if you can just purchase something with a debit card, right? And I have a debit card. I use it really regularly. I know a lot of people don't use cash anymore with Apple Pay. And so I just thought if you have the money on hand in your account, then the debit card's the best way to do it.
So tell me a little bit about kind of how that conception then changed.
Like researching, I was able to interact with a lot of different kinds of credit cards. It kind of became clear to me that like a Amex Gold or Platinum wasn't the only credit card out there, right? I wasn't paying hundreds of dollars for an annual fee. I could find cards with no annual fees and not really confusing reward programs that if I wasn't making big purchases on airlines or travel that I could make sense of that would benefit me in any way. So that changed because I kind of learned about more accessible credit cards. And the idea that I could just have a cashback card, right? I could avoid a rewards program, especially at this point in my life where I'm probably not going to benefit from one a ton. One of the other things is that it's just like I had said previously, is that it's actually a lot cheaper than you think. You can get cards with the $0 annual fee and low monthly fees. And I think that's pretty interesting.
There is this culture, especially within kind of financial wellness space, that credit cards are dangerous, and they can be, right? You can overspend very quickly, but kind of what you were saying is that that's not necessarily the end of the story, that there are constructive ways to use credit cards and there are destructive ways to use credit cards.
I think that's one of the big things I learned, right? Is back to the question is, why would I even have a credit card at this age? And I learned that obviously one of the big things is to build your credit score. And so I think for me, learning that as I'm going to be graduating college in what feels like a really long time, but if I can use those 4 or 5 years to prepare myself that when I get out, that my first car or my first apartment are going to be cheaper because I have a good credit score that I've been building. So that's just for me, what I've learned was a big reason to not use a debit card, and a why, and this is what kind of dispels that gloom around the credit card. If I do have the money to pay back my credit card bill and I'm really smart about the purchases I'm making, it's a really easy way to help me to make bigger financial decisions in the future.
If someone is about your age and is thinking about getting a credit card, what kinds of things would you recommend that they look for?
Yeah, and I had mentioned this previously, avoiding a really expensive annual fee. I know, especially just the paychecks I get, at the jobs I've worked at, ice cream stores and stuff like that. If I was having to pay $150 annual fee, it would add up really quickly. And there's cards you can get that are way more than that, right? And so especially if you're not spending a lot of money, you don't need a particular card, even if there is some aura around it, something that it communicates. You just have to be smart about maybe getting a card with low intro APR and a $0 annual fee.
Is it the kind of situation where, hey, if you don't need a credit card and you don't think you're making a big purchase and don't need credit right now, maybe hold off? What's your view on that?
I think you need to be really mindful about how you're going to treat your credit card before you sign up for one. If you feel like the way you spend money and your behavior is going to make it dangerous, or and it's going to be a negative experience for you, and you're not going to make wise financial decisions, then you should totally hold back. If you're not ready to pay back your credit card bills that you would like to accrue, don't do it, you know? But for me, I think I personally would be really interested in getting a credit card, even though I'm not going to be making super big purchases, because it's just an opportunity for one, to build better habits, and two, kind of learn the ropes of paying my bills, interacting with card companies, and just the perks of a card, even if it's not big dollar purchases. And even the small dollar purchases, making my bills like regularly and on time, helps my credit score.
And it's all just kind of about spending a little bit of time and understanding before you act.
And I think that's the big thing, is for me, is just the knowledge. It gave me the confidence that I had, and kind of dispelled like this perception of credit cards that I had. But it also is really important because you don't always want to trust the credit card company. We were talking with the co-founder, Steve, and he says his credit card, when he goes to pay online, prompts him to only pay the minimum. And that is something you just, if you weren't self-aware of, could get you in a pretty hairy situation. And so I think for me personally, I think the most important part of having a credit card is not what like contract you sign with whatever company. It's just how well you know your credit card.
I want to thank you. This has been a great conversation. It has been fantastic to work with you this summer on this project. What I do want to say to people who are watching or listening, if you are looking for a credit card yourself, you can go to theyukonproject.com. We'll put a link in the description below. We have a marketplace there where you can filter up well over 150 different cards to find the card that you are looking for. You just need the right card for what you're doing. And what we're trying to do is make sure that you find the card that will help you to navigate this financial wilderness in a positive way, so that your finances is an adventure and not a disaster.